See here. Okay.
There's some construction going on in the street behind me, so sometimes you maybe hear some hammers.
No, that's fine. Okay, I think we're live here. Let's double check. Okay. Let's see. Refresh. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we are live on Facebook and should be YouTube now. Let me see, double checking. So we're just starting the stream a little early here, guys, and then we'll officially start in a few minutes. So if everyone wants to come in, get comfortable, I'll repost it on my story here. Let's see, get a link to it. Okay, good. There's the thing there. Let me copy this link. Post it on story. Mute that. Mute. Okay. Seconds.
I'll see if I can join the live on my phone so I can see the chat as well.
Yeah, so I've got it here. And I've got this pretty cool thing on OBS that it combines like all the chats from both platforms and it should all come up here. And then we can go through it. Okay. Let me see. I'm just going to post it on story here. Let me see. Posting here. Okay, one sec. Okay, there. Story is out. Yeah, and we kind of started this early. It's just the first one. I still have to set up the streaming on Instagram and TikTok too. It's like this is literally like just spur of the moment thing, So we're getting started with it. So it's going to be fun, man. Okay, so we'll give people a few minutes here. Okay. Yeah. Hey guys, we'll be starting in a few minutes, okay? I see a few of you on Facebook there. So yeah, we're just getting it set up. I started a little early today. We have Peter here. And yeah, we'll formally be starting in 4 or 5 minutes when everyone gets on, and then I'm also going to be recording this also. So we have a great episode for you guys today. And yeah, we'll give people a few minutes. So how's the weather there, man? It looks great.
Yeah, I'm in my shorts.
Yeah.
It's really good. It has been raining the last couple of days though, so it's like sometimes when it rains like 20 millimeters in an hour, and then it's all day sunny again because it's tropical weather here. But yeah, most of the time it's just sunny and about 28 to 32 degrees or something, so degrees Celsius. And yeah, it's great. I've been here now for 3 months for my internship because I do study entrepreneurship and retail management in the Netherlands. And yeah, I thought, yeah, we had to do an internship, and I thought, yeah, I can be in the Netherlands where it's 4 degrees and everything's expensive.
Yeah.
I can just, fuck it, let's go to Bali where everything is cheap.
Yeah.
Good weather.
No, I know,
I've
man.
been enjoying it so far.
Oh,
Best
100%.
decision of my life. Yeah, I love traveling, I just want to see the whole world. And
Yeah.
I think this is a great start to like do working as well, because I'm here with a couple of classmates as well. And they're also like really into the entrepreneurial journey, trying to get the best out of the day. And that's what we're doing here. We're with 3 in a house here, in this house where I'm right now. And we just wake up at 6 a.m., take a walk, go read a book or learn something new, and then do a little bit of chores. And after that, our day starts.
That's
So,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really trying to get the best out of the experience here.
Oh,
And in the weekends we do fun stuff. Like we give ourselves the reward that we can go on a long trip or go visit some islands in the area or things like that. Just,
yeah. And hey guys, yeah, if you're just joining us, we're just waiting a couple more minutes now because we're actually gonna get started at 9:30, which is about 4 minutes from now. So just get comfortable, get a drink, and hang out. But no, I like the Netherlands. I've been there quite a few times, and a few years ago I was actually in Dusseldorf, Germany, and it's so ridiculously expensive there. We were there for like a trade show, and we said, "Oh, screw it, we're just gonna go stay in the Netherlands instead because it's a little nicer." And there's this awesome stretch of Autobahn. I don't know if you know that one, but yeah, you know, between Dusseldorf and there, where you can just blast for like 80 kilometers. So I was actually in this. We rented this like BMW, but it wasn't like a great one, but it was like whatever, right? So I got to like 200 kilometers per hour, and then it starts putting this triangle on like overheating. I'm like, shit, no. So it's like.
Yeah.
Next.
I've experienced that a couple of times myself as well. Yeah. It's really like the freedom of like being able to hammer it without having to think about the consequences. It's just great.
Oh, and then you know another thing too about that happened to me there. So we were in the Netherlands, and I was with this girl at the time, and we're like, okay, we want to go get ice cream. It's like late at night, and it's like I don't know, like 11 p.m. And so we look up and we say, okay, there's actually a McDonald's that's open like a few kilometers down. So we start driving, whatever, and it's just like this total like darkness, small town. There's no like streetlights, whatever. It's just total dark, and I'm just driving. I don't see any signs or anything, and then I just see boom, this big red flash. It's like shit. What is that? And I said, okay, it must be like a speed camera or something. And then I didn't hear anything from it. But then, like literally 3 months later, they sent me this bill for like $11, and saying that I was like speeding there, and it was all in like Dutch or German or something. And it's like, oh, I don't even know what to do with this. So I just gave it to my German friend, and they took care of it. But
So it was like a speed ticket.
yeah, for like $10 or something. It was fine. Yeah, so. Oh. Hey guys, yeah, if you're just joining us,
Over time, though.
yeah,
Because
it's like,
now if you drive 1 kilometer too fast, it's like 50 or 60 euros. It's fucking crazy.
yeah. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, we're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. It's a lot of people coming in here. We have a great episode today. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Should be very informative. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, Netherlands is pretty cool. Yeah.
You get everywhere so quick.
Yeah, no, it's nice. But yeah, Bali's little bit nicer.
Yeah, you need to do everything by bike, because with a car you'll you'll get nowhere. There's only traffic jams, and because the roads are not made for a lot of people. And like there are so many cars now that there's just constant traffic jams in the big cities, so you go everywhere with your little moped, and that works. So
Yeah, no, that reminds me of Thailand. I was just there in December, and like everyone drives those little like yeah, moped things around, and it's crazy. They just like weave in and out of the cars, and they get in
yeah,
accidents and stuff. But yeah,
yeah, a lot of accidents everywhere.
yeah.
But
Okay,
if you're
well, yeah, let's get started. All right, guys. Well, it is 9:30 here, and we are going to get started. So, thank you everyone for joining today. I know there's a few people who are going to be coming later, and we're going to be recording this, so it'll come up later if you want to watch it as well. I know a bunch of people on Instagram told me that it's late at night for them because we have a lot of fans, obviously, and supporters in Europe. So this will, of course, be recorded. And yeah, the whole idea of the show here is that every week I'm going to be bringing out someone wants to learn business. Maybe they're an aspiring entrepreneur. Maybe they just want to get their finances in order. Maybe they have a lot of debt. Whatever case might be, okay. And I want to draw from my experience of owning a $50 million medical company, being very entrepreneurial, and having a lot of in the field experience with these things to really try and help people out. And in my experience, what a lot of people do is there's people who are really successful, but not a lot of people who want to actually help, right? Sorry, someone's spamming me here. And then, and in my experience, a lot of people like sit back. Like I have a lot of friends who were giving me like a lot of shit for doing like the 0 to 1 billion challenge, for example. And I'm like, oh, why are you wasting your time with this? Like you can't help people. But I don't really believe that, right? Like I'd rather try my best. To help people and to give my experiences to them, and hopefully it can create something positive, right? And to that point, like what you'll see a lot of fake people who want to try and give advice, right? Like maybe they think they're like a millionaire or something, but they really haven't done much, but they don't really have anything to like, show for it. But there's not a ton of people who can actually go out and say like, look, I'm at this place now where I'm like arguably like 10 to 15 years down the road of where a lot of people are starting out from. And that's why I feel like looking at all the things I've done, I'm in a really good spot to help these people out, right? So that's what we're going to be starting with here. Let me just close these other tabs. And yeah, so today's show we have Peter here, and Peter is a young entrepreneur from the Netherlands, and we're going to hear his story and how he's starting out. And the whole goal here is to try my best to give as best knowledge and sort of experiences and draw from all these things to help him out. Help maybe put a path in place and help really make sure that he is achieving his goals and doing the best from that perspective. So we can lean on a little bit there. So thank you for coming, Peter. And yeah, let's have a good conversation here. So when I really look back on my journey as an entrepreneur, I sort of think about it in two phases, right? There's a huge structural component where it's like, yes, you have to know how to make good business decisions. You have to know like, okay, this product looks good, this marketing looks good, this is how you treat people or whatever. But that is sort of more of like the informational part of it. And my whole thing is that I think people are missing like 90% of the game. And from the questions I get every day, people are like, oh, I'm missing this information, and I'm doing, I could do this if I knew this. And it's really not the case. Like the number one thing you need to focus on when you're just starting out is your psychology and your skills. So I want to spend a good chunk of time in the beginning talking about psychology, just in terms of general entrepreneurship, just in terms of being like a highly successful person, being highly motivated. And I think this is what's going to do the most help in the beginning for you. So I guess just from my own perspective, I would start with a question, say like, okay, Peter, I think you're 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in your 21 years, what would you say is like the biggest sort of like highest performance thing you've done, maybe the most challenging thing, if you can reflect on things like this?
Well, I think that's now, literally, I'm
Mm-hmm.
living in the moment because I had the chance of going to Bali and just doing it because I could do an internship in the Netherlands. But it's not like F it. I'm going to Bali, going to do it there, gonna work on myself because I have like this whole agenda free. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with my internship with an entrepreneur as well. He's also working really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I'm gonna need some passive income when I'm in Bali. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what, I don't know how, but I'm just gonna make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a little bit lucky because we did a school project at a company in the Netherlands just before we went. And they said to me like, "Hey, we have this company. We just fired their marketing agency. We saw you how hard you guys worked for us. Do you guys want to do the marketing for us?" And we had no experience like in Google Ads or
Mm-hmm.
in not real experience in like Instagram, only like our couple own projects. And we thought, all right, let's just accept it. Let's just do this, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
find it out along the way how we're gonna do this. And yeah, until now it worked out pretty well. We've been doing pretty well, and that's, yeah, I think that's the biggest step I've took so far, like in just going out and doing it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, oh, I first have to educate myself in Google Ads before I can start, and I just start.
Yeah, no, that and that's
And
the yeah,
yeah.
that's the best way to do it. And in my experience, right, that's a great thing to do. Okay, so you're saying like, look, I have this opportunity. I might not have the skills for it. I might not have the experience for it, but I'm going to give it my best anyways. And a lot of people actually don't have that ability, right? They get paralyzed by like what they don't know. They get paralyzed by, this lack of information, and it really, really stuns what they're trying to do. Now, aside from that, I guess I would like to go back to your childhood a little bit. So, did you ever like experience anything like like poverty or any like societal pressures or anything like this, or were you sort of more from like a well off family or things like that?
Well, my family started out not really wealthy. Just my
Mm-hmm.
mom was a therapist for people with back problems and that sort of stuff. And my dad had kidney problems, so he had no functioning kidneys, so he had really low energy. So my mom had to provide for the family. But we did live in a really quiet environment in the woods, and I've had like a really calm and playful youth with
Mm-hmm.
great friends that never been bullied, that sort of stuff. But when my mom, yes, she's an entrepreneur as well, together with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But that journey only started in like 2013, 2014, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on, my dad and mom's income started to grow. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was young, we didn't really have that much money, but they were able to take me and my two brothers on a vacation to France for
Mm-hmm.
like 5, 6 weeks, because they didn't do any other vacation that year because they like long vacations. So they didn't do anything for the whole year, saved up so we could do a long trip to France, for instance, and then we just went by car and went camping. But that, yeah, over the time it grew. So eventually in 2019 we went to Curacao as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of stuff. But in my youth, I never really had like a massive, and yeah,
Okay, yeah,
massive
and that's
parents.
that's really good, man, because the whole thing is that when you're going through these problems, right, even now and in the future, you need something to draw inspiration and motivation from. And too many people think that this is going to be money or your interest in money. Like I'm telling you, this is an endless well. Okay, like you can go and make like $50 million. You can go make $100 million. There's always going to be someone who's like infinitely more richer than you. Like wanting to be successful just for the purpose of money isn't it. And for me, like why I'm bringing this up and why I asked you those questions before was you need to have a very strong reason as to why you want to be successful, right? And it can't just be for money. It can't just be for, Lamborghinis or Maseratis or whatever. It has to be like, look, I remember how bad things were. I remember like, look, like for example, in my life, right? From the time I was born, like 1993 until like 2000, things were going pretty good. My parents had a business. Everything was going okay. I was actually born in Windsor, Ontario, which is right across from Detroit in America. And one of my dad's like main businesses was to have a lot of clients coming in from America. He was actually a hairdresser, and then in 2001, basically when 9/11 happened, his business was essentially like cut in half, right? Because like the Americans weren't coming to Canada anymore because they had a lot of like immigration issues. People didn't want to travel and all these things. So I just remember from the periods of like 2001 until about like 2008, like we were just so strapped for things, right? And I just like we couldn't afford very much and all these things. And I think back to those days, and it's just like, even at that age, I knew, like, look, no matter what, I have to be successful to like support my parents one day, if I have to, and need to, and all these things. And I just remember, like, holy shit, money and success just has so much control over your life when you don't have it, right? So whenever I'm thinking, like, look, I have a bad day, or whatever, I just remember back to those times. It's like, I can't give up. It's just like, these are the most transformative times for you. It's the times when you're in these bad situations where you have to perform, right? So the main thing that you can take from this is saying, look, okay, you had some tougher times before, but you always have to remember, when you're looking out for these tough times, you have to really embrace it and draw from them, because you need this for a source of motivation to really push you forward. Like, business is hard. Like, going from 0 to 100,000 is hard. Going from like 100,000 to 1 million is hard. Going from like 1 million to 10 million is like impossible. That's the really hard step, right? So it gets harder and harder and harder. And that's the opposite of what people who, don't have money will tell you. They'll think like, okay, my problem is money. I don't have funding. I don't have these things. That's never the problem. Anyone who has money knows that money is not the thing that's holding you back. It's your motivation, your inspiration, right? So, it's critically important for you as, a young entrepreneur who's going through this journey, to have something strong to pull from. And this can't be just like, oh, I want to be rich. Like I said, this has to be like true stuff that you feel in your heart, because I'm telling you, man, the days are going to come when everything goes wrong. And it's just like, holy shit, why am I doing this? Why don't I just go get a job? Why don't I just have a normal life? And if you don't have something to pull from, you're going to be screwed 100%. Like, I have so many friends, man, who are the same age as me, who tried business, and they're not being that successful with it. And a huge part of it is the psychology, right? Like, they're not hungry enough. They don't push hard enough. And it's just like, man, some people say like, okay, I've been getting beat down for like 80 days, 100 days, whatever it is. But maybe on that 81st day, maybe on that 101st day, this is the day where you get your break, right? And you just have to have this persistence. And these are the intangible skills that I feel like nobody actually wants to talk about, right? Because everyone wants to say like, oh, go and do this, go and do this shipping website, go and do this marketing strategy, you're going to make money. But that's just like such a small view of what success is and how you have to go about being successful, right? So I know that was a lot there, but my whole point to you is that you have to have these core feelings that will push you forward no matter what. Because if you don't have it, you're just going to give up when things are really tough. And I know you might not think that now. You're thinking like, oh, I'm never going to quit or whatever. But the challenges haven't even like hit you yet, right? It's like when I was broke, when I was like 24, 25, I thought, okay, selling is going to be a challenge, and it was in the beginning. And it's like, oh my God, that's nothing compared to, managing employees, dealing with banks, doing deals, lawyers, all this stuff. You have to go through all these pressures, right? And that's what I'm telling you from someone who's basically like 10 years ahead of where you're at. You have a lot of shit that you're going to be going through. So you have to be like squared away now as to having a strong reason as to why you're doing this. So I guess now flipping it over to you, given what I've said, do you feel that you have these experiences and these feelings to really push you through these tough times? And it's okay to
Yeah.
say no, by the way. Like, it's okay to say like, look, I've had some things, but I do need to think more about it and build it up. Like, you don't have to have all the answers. We're just having a conversation, right? I'm just putting things out there that I know are important that you may not have considered before. So from that perspective, I guess, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I've had on, I've noticed these kind of little things already. It's like, ooh, this is more difficult than I thought. Ooh, this takes longer, but on a less caliber than you.
Hmm.
Not the real big things, but also already the smaller things. Like when we started this, I thought, oh, I'm just gonna go do Google Ads. We're gonna set it up. It'll be alright. But eventually, it takes so much time, and then in the beginning, the invoice we sent, was still little because we wanted to be below their old
Hmm.
marketing company to, like, we're cheaper, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
eventually work our way up. But then I did so much work, and I was like, oh man, that's so much work for so little money. But then I
Hmm.
thought, like, all right, but think about further ahead. Now it's a lot of time invested. But eventually, when this will be up, the Google Ads, it will be like more passive, and I only have to check it once a day. So that was like my motivation, my
Mm-hmm.
drive to just keep going, optimizing. But it was difficult at sometimes. But then you just try to, what you said, try to remember, right? But what if I didn't do this? And I would be
Mm-hmm.
here without any money, you know,
Oh, for
or
sure.
without my goal reached. So yeah, I've experienced what you just said. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And then, yeah, I think that's a good logical point to talk about too. Is like, so you're starting out in business now, and let's give people a little more context. So you are basically starting like a marketing agency now. Are you the one who's actually doing like the creative elements yourself, or are you like hiring that out, like doing drop servicing, something like that, or?
I'm doing it together with my classmate, my partner, my
Okay.
best friend,
Okay.
and he's more of the content creator.
Mm-hmm.
He has cameras and such, and he does mostly all the Instagram because he
Mm-hmm.
really likes it, enjoys it, he's good in it, and I'm more of the analytic guy, so I do
Mm-hmm.
the Google Ads because I'm good at that. And together we make this great combo of best of both worlds. And yeah, until now that's worked really well. We've made a couple videos for them
Mm-hmm.
because we're here in Bali. It's a coffee company.
Mm-hmm.
They sell coffee on subscription base.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Bali is a coffee company, so we can go here to the coffee plants, make cool videos that no other coffee company has because they don't have anyone in the region. So
That,
that's one advantage we have with our marketing agency,
Okay, so
in
that's
that
cool, but then
uh,
that brings me up to one very interesting question. So you have someone who does the content, you have yourself who does the ads management. Who's actually going to be selling this product? So like one of the things you have to look at is like, okay, you have this one job right now, and that's good. Who's actually going to be selling this?
Yeah, so that's one question I had for you.
Uh
Like
huh.
for now, we have one company that we do the marketing and ads for, and they
Mhm.
have a second company as well for which I
Mhm.
do LinkedIn automation to get them, generate leads there. But eventually, when
Mhm.
we go to the Netherlands, like how are we gonna make sure that we can get more customers in, and
Mhm.
how should we divide that role? Because you probably already have done that, have grown it, have been
Mhm.
through that,
So so
and I haven't.
you basically never sold anything before, right?
Um, for this marketing agency,
Just in general, like, do you have sales experience? Do you have like any account management
uh,
experience?
yeah. I've always wanted to start like a car dealership. So what I
Okay.
did was for school, we always have to do these projects in companies because we need to do like entrepreneurial things
Mhm.
in other companies to learn like in the field. And I thought, all right, I want to start my car company. I'm gonna work at a car company, so I'll learn how it works.
Okay.
And I sold about 2, 3 cars there as well. And I also did like a sales course because my dad back in the day used to give
Mhm.
these sales courses to multinationals,
Mhm.
and he had that laying around. And so I did that course, and I've been in general. I think I'm a good sales
Okay.
person. I have like a quick talk and all that. So
Okay, so just a comment on that then. So basically, from what I know about car salesmen, you're basically taking that strategy and applying it to your marketing agency, and I'll explain how I saw that. Right. So, one of the first things you said was you're selling based on price. You wanted to be the lowest price, which is very analogous to what the car salesman does, right? Like, why do you want to buy a Chrysler from you versus you? Versus the other guy, right? It's because you're saying like, look, you want to give like a better price. Like I'll give an example, right? Like I just bought the Maserati a couple weeks ago. I quoted it from the guy in London. I quoted it from the guy in Toronto. But what ended up doing it for me was not because of the one that gave me a better price, because it was the one who gave me the actual better service as well. The guy in London, like if you believe it or not, he literally made me like a custom video and says like, "Oh hey Michael, this is your car. I just had the day off today. I'm gonna get back to you tomorrow with a quote." And this was on Thursday, and I told this guy, "Look, I want to buy the car right away, right?" So he actually didn't get back to me. The one in Toronto, they said, okay, right away, I'll get you a quote and we'll go. And I told them, look, I'm going to be quoting this to other people. So they already had this idea that they're going to be like competitive on price. But what that person did to tip the scale, to tip the sale towards them, was they gave me the service, right? And they treated me better. So you'll find in business, you cannot just rely on this like lowest common denominator, lowest pricing strategy to scale a business. That never works because what that is gonna do is it's gonna decrease your margins too much. So then when you go and make a mistake and you like say like, okay, you think something's gonna cost you $1,000 and it ends up costing you $2,000, if your margin isn't 50% or more, you're gonna get completely screwed. And then as soon as you go cash flow negative like this, when you're doing like a service business like this, you're going to get completely crushed. So right off the bat, you need to sort of think about your strategy in terms of why someone would want to work with you. And this is how you have to sell it, right? You can't just say, look, work with us because we have the cheapest ads. Cheapest ads is not scalable, right? Like some of the best businesses in the world, like pretty much the only business that can run at like 3% margin, like which is a very extreme example, or lower, is like Walmart. Nobody else on earth has figured out how to do this, right? And that is the end game of the game you're trying to play, which is the lowest common denominator game. And you might not have even realized that before, right? But that's the reality. So what you want to do instead is say like, look, the benefits of working with us are we are going to work as hard as possible. We're going to give you great original content, and like our customer service is going to be paramount. That's how you have to sell it so that you can position yourself more from a quality perspective, right? Because as soon as you just start comparing apples to apples and say like, oh, our price is this and the other company is this, you're going to get screwed because those companies are going to be bigger than you most likely, and then they're going to be able to produce better content for that lower price because of their scalability. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
and it is not that with us that we purely based it on price. It is just that we wanted to hook them.
No, and this is trust me, a million people have done this before you. They say like, look, if I could just get on the board here and get like a little thing going, and then maybe it can go into a bigger thing. It's a huge problem when you start at a low price to make it higher, because those people, it is so hard, man, to raise prices on customers over time. It's very, very difficult, right? And this is coming from someone like my whole business is B2B business, right? So I own like 2 medical companies, and it's all like repeat customers that we have to deal with all the time. And let me tell you, raising prices is an incredibly difficult thing to do in reality. Like in the textbook, it'll say, okay, like raise the price, whatever. But it's not the same as saying like, look, I have to call you and say, hey, I have to charge you another $10,000 for this marketing campaign. But, it's not because I'm doing more stuff for you. It's just because our costs have gone up. And like that's the case, right? This is reality. In reality, like you have wage inflation, you have just general inflation, you have product inflation, you have all these inflationary pressures that are going to cause your prices to go up. So when you're selling based on this low price, you have to be confident in your ability to really increase that price over time, or else you shouldn't quote it at that low price. Because think about it, right? Your costs are pretty much guaranteed to always go up unless you're an extremely savvy business person and you know how to reduce costs very, very well. In a business like yours, which is predominantly service based, and you're basically tied to like hiring people and paying like these wages and things like that, it's going to be extremely difficult to reduce costs unless you have people doing exponentially more work. But that's not sustainable, right? Like you need people to do a good amount of work, and you need to be scalable. You can't just say like you're going to rely on one person to do $200,000 worth of work forever if you're only paying them like $40,000, right? Like that's not going to last long. So basically my whole idea here is you need to make a system where you're making something scalable, and you can actually like apply it in many different fashions, right? You can't just say, okay, we want to keep doing these jobs, we're making like 5 or 10% margin because we probably don't have the account management and sort of like business experience to really grow those accounts over time. And instead you want to say, okay, we might not win every single opportunity we quote, but the ones we do quote, we're going to provide excellent service on, and the customer is going to get great value for our higher price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you have to sort of think about it.
That's a really good advice, actually. Yeah. Right. Yeah, because I thought like we're starting out, we need to start low, but now if I see the quality we produce, like I didn't know that in advance, but if I compare my Instagram or that we do for that company, and I compare other coffee companies' Instagrams, I think, oh, we're already way ahead.
Better. And I just thought of something too that's even better for you. What you should do is, you should, like when you're able to and you have the resources, go and start doing like free demos for people. Like for example, I have a friend who has a marketing agency also, and they do like a lot of logos and things like that, like a lot of print things. They'll literally go and find like older businesses, like hair salons, whatever, these businesses that aren't fully like adopted to the internet, right? And they'll go and start saying like, hey, I'll do a free logo for you guys, or I'll do like whatever, right? And they say like, okay, sure. And then when they give them like a good quality product, that sort of opens the door to say, hey, we also do this, and this, right? Now you've already established a relationship with these people, and you're not selling it based on price, you're selling it based on like goodwill and what you can do for them, right? And that's what's really going to set you apart, and that's really going to set you up for being able to charge these higher prices to have more margin with, right? And again, the whole idea of why you need more margin is not simply to say like, oh, we want to make like more money. It's because it's going to give you a bigger room for error for the mistakes that you are bound to make, right? Like I don't care who you are, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to like invest in a project that doesn't work. You're going to hire bad people. Like this is a certainty. Like this is not something that might happen, might not happen. It is a certainty. You will run into mistakes and blunder. And when that happens, you need to have the cash flow to be able to cover it, right? Like in my medical company, for example, I've made a ton of mistakes. Like I don't know if you saw that video a few weeks ago, but I was talking about this time we invested like $500,000 into like PPE products, and it was a complete write-off, right? But it's like, thankfully that was a small part of the business, right? But if that was our entire business and we went all in on this, it would have been a disaster, right? So it's just the whole idea is, you need the margin to be able to have the cash flow to fight another day when the bad things happen.
Yeah, really good one. I wrote it down, so perfect.
Okay.
All right.
So then, so going back to the question earlier then, is you have a little bit of sales experience from this. This is essentially what I like to call like commodity or like lowest common denominator selling, right? So the person is not coming to you for something necessarily specific to you. Like they could go and buy this from other companies. Like it's not basically setting you apart. Like you don't have some special car like on the car lot, for example, that only you have. Like in theory, right? I'm not saying like maybe the other guy's like out of stock or whatever. Then that is when price matters more, right? But in this sort of business, you want to have your skill set and what you're able to do be as more of the differentiator for you, okay? And when you are selling that, it is much harder than just selling it based on price, right? So you need to either develop these skills in doing this or find someone who has it, because the number one mistake I see people making whenever they're starting a business or even like growing a business is they do not focus on scales, and they assume that they have the skills to do something, right? So you're basically in a position right now where you're 21. You can go one of either two ways. You can say, look, I'm going to spend some time and develop the skills of selling and being able to actually like scale this business up, or I'm going to have to hire it out and find someone to do that for me, and at which time I can dedicate my time towards doing other things. And also, one thing you have to be critically just transparent with is you have to be real with yourself, right? You can't just say, I want to sell because I'm good at selling if you're not, right? And this is a big thing for people, right? A lot of people want to say like, oh, I'm good at everything, and this is just it's just being disingenuous to yourself and to your other shareholders and your friends and your employees, right? Like you have to stay in your circle of competence, right? And I know this is a phrase that Warren Buffett and these people like to use too, but if you just think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? And I tell people all the time, like in my medical company, okay, and myself personally, like I am good, objectively good at probably maybe, I don't know, 100 and 150 things. Like good means like better than average, right? I am like excellent or great at probably like a dozen things. So that means probably like top 10, 15 percentile, right? But I'm the best in the world at 3 or 4 things. And one of the things I'm best in the world at is literally only doing things that I'm best in the world at, right? Like you will never see me in my company saying like, look, I'm the one doing the marketing, or I'm the one doing the technical support, because I don't allow myself to think that I am the best at that, because I'm not. I'm not the best at customer service. I'm the best at like analyzing the business, saying like, look, how can we improve what we're doing? How do we stay focused on our tasks? That level of management, that's something that I'm like expert at, right? World class at. That's where I spend my time. I don't lie to myself and say, look, I feel the need to be good in 46 different areas, because I'm not, right? I stay in my zone. So I guess going over to you, would you consider your ability to sell as one of your best, strongest traits, or do you like not feel that that's your number one thing?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. That I think selling is one of my things I've always been able to do. I've worked in the catering industry for a really
Okay.
long time as a side job as well, and all the times I got these feedback like, "Oh wow, you could sell anything," blah blah
Okay.
blah, and I really enjoyed that process of like trying to sell, trying to upsell, and I thought that really is part of who I am and what I like to do. So yeah, I think selling is one thing that I really like to do, and that I want to exploit or
Okay.
grow over time, and that I also want to do in my company as well.
Okay.
But things like the little things, like eventually I will want to. I don't have an example now, but eventually there are little things that I do not like that much that I have to do now that I
Mm-hmm.
eventually want to outsource to other people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just the number one thing too is like when you're looking at outsourcing to other people, it can't come from a place of laziness. Like I'm not saying you're doing this or not doing this or whatever. I'm just saying like I know a lot of people too who will just say, look, I want to outsource this to someone who's worse at this than me just because I just don't want to do it anymore. And that is not a good reason to do it, okay? You should outsource it if it's going to improve the functionality of whatever that is for the company. Because your company is only as good as the people who work there. It's like, I don't care if you're the smartest guy in the world, best businessman in the world. If you don't have like a solid team around you, the whole thing's going to collapse, right? I know that might sound like a cliche, but it is just so critically important. And, in my experience, these like classic business philosophies and this this traditional wisdom, it always shows up, and it just stands the test of time, right? So I can't tell you how many times I've just been like, so one of my favorite philosophies is, look, if you know you have to make a decision on something, do it right now, don't wait. And it's like I've seen too many people like being in a position where they're like, okay, maybe something will change if I just give it a little more time or whatever. People don't change, right? And the whole idea is like, look, you have to be fast acting on these things, but you can't do it like impulsively. And that's exactly going into like what we were talking about the outsourcing, right? So if you're putting someone in a position and they're not doing that well with it, and you say, okay, maybe they'll get better in a week, maybe they'll get better in a month or whatever, don't do that. So you have to look at the skills first. Only outsource it if that person can do the job as well or better than you. Other than that, you want to be making sure you're doing it yourself. And like whenever you start a business, honestly, man, it's like the first 3 to 5 years are just so critical, and like you need to be nailing everything then, because that is the time that's going to set you up for everything in the future, right? And it doesn't matter as much in the later years because you'll have like a good base by then. But like right now, you can't afford to basically like be lazy. You can't afford to hire like shitty people who are not going to like put in the effort and do the actual job you want them to do, because this is what's going to hurt you like a million times more than you just like doing the extra bit of work that you're trying to outsource.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay. And then, okay, so it sounds then like you have your friend who does the creative content, and yourself who does the analytics, and you think you can do a pretty good job with the sales also. So then I guess the next logical question is, how many actual pieces of content can your friend do in like a day or a week or things like this?
Um, well, now I think we what we've done is in the first month when we developed a new strategy for the social media, because first we tried to do what they already did, see if it worked, but it didn't.
Okay.
So we developed a new strategy for them, and I think we made content for 2 months in the first month already, and that was
Okay.
like one day a week, 2 days a week. And then we just went out one day to the coffee region and just shoot a bunch of videos there.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a coffee place here, like a bar, and just say, all right, here's €6. Please lend me your bar for 1 hour, and then we just made videos there. And we do that together, the content creation. I'm the actor, I'm the talker, and he's
Oh,
the
okay.
filmer.
Uh-huh.
And you can find me on Instagram, Roast, it's called. That's the company we're doing marketing for. You see, we
Nice.
make espresso martinis and that kind of thing.
We'll link it after.
uh,
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And but yeah, that's I think we can produce quite a bit in a week
Hmm.
time. We can produce a month worth of content in a week.
Okay, so then, okay, so basically, you're saying that you can do like another like 4x what you're doing right now, basically, or
Yeah, yeah. If
okay.
I had all my time available for this marketing agency,
Hmm.
we could do a lot more. But now we only have one company that we really do the marketing
Right.
for. So that also gives me like the insight that we can have more companies to work for.
Right. And then, sorry, I know you sent me that picture before, but could you remind me like how much revenue that's bringing in per month, roughly?
Now with this one company, I think it's about 1,100 Canadian
Right.
per month. With the package we sold them now, and we're trying to upsell them every month. But
Mm-hmm.
then that reminds me of your feedback that never start low because
Yeah.
your costs will always go up, and that's the problem we're facing now. Is like, oh my god, how are we gonna upsell them again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're running out of
Um,
shit to sell. Yeah.
yeah, I'm running out of shit to sell, so that's definitely something I'm gonna improve with the next customers. Just
Okay.
like you said, yeah, just provide the best service and start high and prove that you're worth it
Mm-hmm.
instead of starting low.
Yeah. So okay.
But
So yeah. Then let's do some math here. So I got the calculator out. So if you're doing 1,100 per month, and say that's times 12, so that's like 13,200 per year. Then you said you can do like 4x more, basically.
yeah, yeah, we can do more. Yeah,
Okay, so that's about like 52,800 per year. That's like that's not enough to sustain you to. Do you see what I mean? Like that's so like if you look at that just from a price perspective, like you come in a lot higher because 52,800, and then and you said that's going to take up like a lot of your time. If you divide by two, this is like 26,400 per person, right? And that's not going to be enough revenue to sustain your business. And then of course, like if you were set up as a legit corporation, you'd have to pay tax on this, insurance, you'd have to pay for rent and all these things. Like I'm just saying, like down the line, right? So like this strategy seems like you'd need to outsource some of the actual time here because it's just not going to work. You need to be selling a lot more than this and get your revenue a lot higher and maintain the quality somehow. So that's going to be your challenge, right? Like you need to see, okay, like what else can we sell these people? You need to get more revenue out of these individual customers because like right now it's not bringing in enough to basically be scalable, right? And like you need to be probably like this is just me like throwing out ideas here. I think for someone in your position, you probably need to be looking at like 200 to like 250,000 in revenue per person you have. And I think that's going to allow you to have the margins you need to really grow the business, invest in the people, and do these sorts of things, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're only making 26,400 per person, well, you have to live too, right? Like, where's the money for the business going to come from? You don't want to just start off at this stage with like tons of loans and things like that because you don't have the cash flow to cover it, right? So you need to think how can you increase revenue per customer and also be able to produce more content. Those are the two things that are like tying you to your revenue, right? So I guess flipping that over to you now, having gone through some of those numbers, what's your initial thoughts on that?
yeah, I agree. I see now that like with 1,100 a month, I have to divide that by two, of course, because I have a partner.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know that's not gonna cut it. I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
it's
no,
gonna
it's
make it
not
like
saying like that's bad or
yeah.
whatever. I'm just trying to say like,
No, no,
look,
no, no.
you
It's
know,
not.
you know, how are you
But
gonna,
it opens like my mind to like, all right, we're gonna really have to ask more in order to sustain ourselves
mm-hmm,
with this business. So when we're back in the Netherlands, I think I'm just gonna go start really high at these companies that are a bit lacking behind, like hairdressers, little bit older companies, which have a lot of cash flow, but like are not really up to
mm-hmm,
date to modern standards. I think I'm gonna propose to those kind of companies with also like a free demo. We'll do this
yeah,
in front. We have these are our USPs, and I'm just gonna start like pretty high with like only Instagram will be this.
mm-hmm,
And Google Ads will be this, and then I'll just start really high. But eventually, I think if we put in a lot of enough money, they'll get something out of it. And I know we'll be able to provide the service they want.
Mm-hmm.
I know we'll be able to do that. So I think I just have to be confident enough to shove it in their
Yeah,
face that we
and
are
yeah,
able.
and you need
Yeah.
packages too. Like, don't just go at them and offer them one thing. Say like, look, we have several different packages available. This is a classic philosophy that was basically invented in America. It's like the small, medium, and large philosophy of like French
Mhm.
fries or any of these things or popcorn or whatever. And
Yeah.
the whole reason why the medium exists is just to have a bridge to get people to buy the large, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what you need. You need a package saying, like, look, this is our gold package. And even if you think like you're pricing it reasonably, add 20% to it. Because if you show that to 1,000 people, probably like maybe 5 or 6 of them will just take that highest tier,
Mhm.
right? Just that's just
Yeah.
how they are. They always want like the best stuff. And that is going to really set you up for success, right? Now, most of them are going to come from like the lower end or medium price points, but if you don't even offer these different packages off at the start, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So go to these people, say like, look, like this is what I would do. So remember, your problem is you have a human resources constraint on how much content you can put out in the beginning. So you should look, I don't know, go on Fiverr, go on one of these websites, find people who can make good demos for you for a cheap price that you can then go and give for free to these different places you want to try and sell. Look, so say like, look, so this is what you do. You go approach these people, say, hey, I'm from so and so agency, from Peter's agency here. We do marketing based in the Netherlands. I'd really like to see if we can go and win some of your business and start a relationship with you. And just out of good faith, I would like the opportunity to make a logo for you completely free. I'm going to give it to you regardless of if you go with us or not. It's just a good token of or good gesture for us to start off on the right foot with. And it doesn't have to be a logo. Do whatever you want, right? And I guarantee you, just from that, probably 40 to 50% of them will say, like, okay, I'm good with that. Some people are going to say, no, I'm not interested, whatever, that's fine, next. But the ones who are good with that, that is going to lead you to a really good path because number one, you just bought a lot of like goodwill in those people's minds, right? Because in the beginning, like when you're just starting out, you don't have any like social proof really. Like, okay, you did a couple projects, whatever. You need to be able to say, okay, we've got like 30 companies like all on your block that use us, right? Like you gotta like be narrow in. Like this guy's using it, this. That's how you do this shit, right? And when that happens, and you come up and say, "Hey, let me show you what I can do for you for free," like just think about it, right? If that was you and you're getting pitched this, you're gonna say like, "Okay, look, I gave it a shot. I have nothing to lose," right? And you get something good for free. You have the social proof of all these other people using it, and it's gonna come. It's gonna give you good results. So that's what I would do. And then when you have a little cash flow coming in, then you start hiring people to make like the actual good content for you, and you just go that way. So if you just have a system where it's like, okay, you go and hit 15 or 20 places every single day and try to like offer these things from them, maybe you'll get like 8 or 9 of them back saying like, yes, okay, I'm good with the free thing. And then you get your guys on Fiverr or whoever to make them, and then you're going back to them. Probably out of those like 8 or 9 people that you give the samples to, I'd estimate that realistically like 20 to 30% of those people will then go and buy something from you, right?
Mhm.
Which is really good for you because that's going to be a lot of more customers that you gained not from your price point strategy from before. Do you know what I mean? These are people who
Yeah.
are just buying from you for your quality. That's the number one thing you can hope for. So that's what I would do, and I think it's very logical, and I think that just the need for what you're doing is huge, right? Like everyone wants to do this, digitize stuff, get their business transformed from the internet and things like that. So I think this is a great plan.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay.
really good. Thank you.
Good. Good. Okay. So I guess um, just in terms of like tactics then and growing your business, I guess I'll turn it over to you first. So okay, let's say you implement this strategy and you're growing. Maybe you get like 100,000 revenue this year, maybe like 300,000 next year, something like this. And then maybe after a couple of years, maybe like 3 or 4 years, maybe you're at like 500,000 revenue or whatever the numbers might be. So at that point there, what would your initial reaction be or idea be to actually like grow the business further? And I'll explain why in a minute, but I'd just like to hear how you think about it.
So you're saying when I reach like 300,000,
Yeah, like
500,000 a
yeah,
year.
you've proved your concept, you've got some sales, you're growing consistently. How do you get to the next level then?
Um, well, I can the money I earn, I want to like invest on the
Mm-hmm.
side at least 50%. So that will give me, yeah, instead of keeping it on the bank, I need to keep it flowing. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I've learned in the past couple of weeks as well. I also in the Netherlands I have an Airbnb that I rent out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would get more Airbnbs going. So the money I earn, I put into those little cottages in
Mm-hmm.
positions. Yeah, and for the rest, just try to see how we can grow the business more and maybe make similar businesses in different branches with the experience I have, and if I have the cash flow to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then I would, yeah, I would just try to keep expanding, and get my money in as many potent, feasible places as possible. So I do not like whenever something goes wrong, I have cash flow from this and from
Mm-hmm.
this, and I try so many things. Eventually, maybe four will fail, but one will do it well, and then I can grow that again. So I think I would never stay stagnant. I would always try to keep my money flowing and yeah, just keep it in different ventures or different things. Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of
Yeah,
what
and
I do.
that's an interesting approach. So basically, you're saying like, look, you want to take the money and invest in like personal assets, essentially, like real estate, whatever, and go like this. But one thing that you are missing there is your ability to actually grow the core business further, right? And one of the things you might look to do is say like, look, maybe in like 3 years, 4 years, you look at starting to buy some smaller size competitors and then continue that way, so you focus on the core business. And you should only do this if you feel like your business is very strong and you have a competitive advantage and you can really lock it down, right? Like, so say for example, say it was possible to acquire every single digital marketing agency in the Netherlands, right? Like massive scale, you play it out over like 40 years and you do that. Like when you're able to monopolize an industry, like the value you create from that, like it exceeds any other sort of form of investing, okay? Because at that point, you have the market cornered. You can charge whatever you want. And at that value creation method is basically like the highest thing imaginable, right? And this has been proven out so many times, whether it's been through like McDonald's or Coca-Cola, through all these companies. If you look at the prices of these things, they're able to consistently raise them, which is the opposite of what you started with before. Remember, you're saying like you're selling based on like the lowest price and you're having a difficulty raising it. And this to tie this full circle, it's because of this issue of not monopolizing your business, right? So whenever you're in a position where your business is going really well and you say, hey, okay, I have an opportunity to really grow this for like much higher, you should really take into consideration, can I buy out some of my competitors? And this is going to help you greatly if you can develop these skills over time. But let me tell you, buying a business is extremely difficult. But if you're looking at it just from a value creation standpoint, it can be extremely helpful to you. So this is just something to put on your radar. But it's not something to be taken lightly at all. This is like pretty much the hardest thing you can do in business is buying another business and growing it and taking it over and dealing with the personalities and all the politics and all these things. But it can be a great option for you if you're looking to really really push your growth, right? And I don't know like what your ambitions are, like what level of wealth would you like to get to one day?
To go wherever I want, whenever I want.
Okay.
That's what I want to achieve. Like, if I think, oh, I want some wine. Oh,
Okay.
Italy. Let's go. Sit at a wine yard with my girlfriend. And just have the freedom. I
Mm-hmm.
think I find freedom the most valuable thing that a person can have. Freedom and health. So I'm taking really good care of my body. But I think like with the travels I've done when I was 17, then I really learned like, wow, freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want is the best thing to
Okay.
have. Because if you're like stuck in in your country, in your company, you have money, everything, but you're
Mm-hmm.
still stuck. You can't go away. And I
Yeah.
think for me, what gives me most value is just to go wherever I want, whenever I want. So I want to have a business that complements with that vision
Okay.
to have, that I
Yeah.
can
So I
be in
definitely.
Bali and do it, and also be in the Netherlands and do it.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. So then I take back what I said. You shouldn't try to make a conglomerate then. No, because that's not going to lead you to what you want. This is like,
Yeah, yeah,
if you do this, this is going to be like, look, you're going for like hundreds of millions, billions, whatever, something like that, and it's a very long game, and you can pretty much never leave it because you have to pay like the most attention to it. If you're looking to have a more of a life like what you're describing, then yeah, like the traditional like ones like real estate, perhaps stocks that pay dividends, things like that to really help you give you like true passive income are the things that are going to help you a lot
in
more.
addition to what I said before, that's like what I want until I'm like 30, 35.
Uh-huh.
After that, I'm like okay with settling down a bit, having a house here, having
Yeah.
a house there, and just then
Hmm.
I think I'll start with kids when I have the funds to give them the best life I
Yeah.
can. I'm not gonna start with kids when I'm still broke because
I
what life
gotcha. Yeah,
will
then for
give
sure,
me
man. Like
instead.
yeah, the acquiring personal assets then is the number one thing for you then. So literally just
Yeah,
go try to buy houses, stocks, these things. That's going to help you out the most 100%. So basically, what you need to be looking to do then is just sell as much as possible and scale this company so you can get the 300 the $500,000 in annual like revenues from that. Then hopefully you can pocket maybe 100K or whatever after that, and then you can use that and start buying like houses. Like I don't know the exact real estate market in the Netherlands, but in North America, for example, you can buy houses for as little as like 20-25% down, right? So if you have $1 million house and you put down like 200 to 250,000 as a down payment, you can get the rest for a mortgage. And yeah, sorry, I was just reading the chat there. Yeah, so basically, that's what you should look to do, and I think that's going to be a great thing for you because that'll get you a lot of income in too. You can use that to support yourself, and you can also use it to buy more assets for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct.
Okay. So yeah, we're coming up to like almost an hour now. It's crazy. So it's gone by pretty fast. So I guess just out of the interest of time, like maybe do you have any questions that you wanted to hear me talk about or?
Let's see. Yeah. So one thing I had like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs make, and how can they avoid them? We've already talked about a few, but I thought like maybe you have.
Yeah, the
Did you
number.
see
Yeah,
something out of your own
yeah.
experience?
The number one is thinking you're like this number one guy who has to do everything and not getting the people you need. Like I have so many friends, man, who are like startup entrepreneurs and or maybe they're in like small businesses, things like that, and they just don't focus on the most important issues because they don't have the key people in the positions to make the key decisions, right? And this all pretty much comes from this lack of being able to say like, okay, I need to step back and let someone else do this because you have like pride, maybe you have ego, maybe you have some constraint, things like that. And it always comes up. So that is number one. The second thing is I know so many people too who are trying to sell something that nobody wants. And just because you think it's a good idea, that doesn't mean shit. Like people might think that it's worthless. People might say like, oh, it's nice, but I don't want to spend this much money on it. But these are the two things: like not knowing and staying in your circle of competence, and then selling something that nobody wants.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. One more.
Mhm.
How did you get started in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so when I was actually, it's funny. So like going back the full circle here, like when I was young, my parents were always very entrepreneurial. My grandparents were too. Like basically everyone in my family had businesses like car washes, hair salons, educational franchises, things like this. So I was always around businesses all the time. But it's funny because like when I was 18, even though I had a ton of experience like in working in these different businesses, like for example, like when I was like 14, I was literally working in a pizza restaurant that my dad had at the time, like literally like making pizzas at like 3 in the morning on like Fridays and Saturdays. It was so funny. But then like so I basically grew up around these businesses and things like that. But then when I went to university, I sort of had this intellectual curiosity about medicine and science, and I really loved that stuff. Just like as a side point, like reading about it and learning about it, I was always very excited about this stuff. But then, like when it came to going to medical school and these things, I just didn't have the passion for this, right? So I spent all this time in university doing this stuff. And I wouldn't say it was a waste of time because the friends I made there and the sort of skills I developed there were what really played a huge role in me being successful today. But like all the actual like book knowledge and stuff, that was pretty irrelevant, right? It was just that was all out of intellectual curiosity. So basically I got done with university when I was like 24 or so, something like that. I did like an extra year. And then I said, look, I'm just gonna go back to my roots and start in business. And what I did was I actually just looked around my house and I said, okay, we have all these textbooks like from university, like let me try and sell them, right? So I started selling them, and then I sort of put this together, like, hey, okay, people actually want to buy books, and this was in like around like 2016, 2017 ish time. And Amazon was big then, but it wasn't a lot of like people like being like resellers of things. It was basically people saying like, okay, I'll go to Alibaba and create a product and then bring it to Amazon and do a bunch of ads on it. And that's what they did. And that was pretty much the only Amazon model at the time. And I was certainly one of the first people to say like, okay, I can buy things that are already here that people want to buy and then just sell them on Amazon for a higher price. So I basically started off with that book idea and said, okay, where can I get like really cheap books and things like this that I can sell, right? And the best thing about being born in Windsor, like I said earlier, which is like right across from Detroit, is there's a ton of Salvation Armies and Goodwills and these like thrift stores, right? So I would go there and like literally like the worst ones, like the ones on like 8 Mile in Detroit where like there's all these like homicides and stuff. Like you can ask my mom or whoever. Like I seriously used to do this and go there with my car, and they just have thousands of books there, and they're not even like displayed. They're all just in bins. And these people are like, okay, you can buy them for 10 cents each, but then I go to buy them, and then they're like, okay, just take all of them, give us $10, right? So I swear to God, I used to go drive to America like 5 days a week, buy like thousands of books, bring them back home to like my parents' basement, and then like scan through them, find the good ones, send the good ones to Amazon. And like I was going over so many times that I literally got pulled over by the CBSA like border security there. In America, saying like, "Why are you coming here?" I'm like, "I'm literally coming here to go shop at the Salvation Army." And they're like, "Sure you are." Like that's bullshit, right? And literally, I swear to God, the American like agent or whatever was like, okay, you tell me right now where you're going, and I'm calling that store because I told them like I had been there like a few days before, and she literally called the store and said like, hey, do you know some guy named Michael? He said he's coming there to buy books, and then this really nice black lady's like, darn tootin', I know him. He comes here to buy the books every week. And they're like, okay, sir, go ahead, go. I never had any problem after that. So no, it's a true story. But yeah, so I got these books. I started selling the books, and then I started realizing, hey, I can sell anything on Amazon, not just books. So then I got into like toys and party supplies and all kinds of different things. And I was always really good at talking to people, right? And just like weaseling into situations that I should like realistically never have had like access to. So I'd go to all these like companies and say like, hey, I want to like sell your products online. And like some of them said no, whatever. But then the ones that said yes, I said, okay, let me go and go through your products, and I would search them all up and find the ones that could be sold on Amazon, things like that. I started buying them and selling them, and over that time, it took me like years and years and years, but I eventually got so good at selecting products that I was able to go and buy something and essentially sell it for like 3 to 4x more and do it at scale, right? And that's how I was able to make millions of dollars when I was in my like early 20s. And basically from there, like the sky's the limit, right? Like I had the cash flow going, I had the concept, I expanded that out to making like millions of dollars a year on Amazon, and then I started investing in companies. And in 2019, I bought my medical company, and yeah, it's just been like continuing to buy more of them ever since, and like combining them and making a huge conglomerate. But yeah, that's how it started, and it's funny, man. It's been so many years, but honestly, it feels like it's just been like a few minutes. Like seriously, it goes by so fast, and I'm just getting started. And it's like sometimes I look back on it, it's like, man, like I haven't done anything yet, right? Like I'm 29 years old. My net worth is like 30 or 40 million, something like that. And it's cool, but it's like, man, I know how much more is coming and how much I'm going to show, and it's just like keeps me very motivated, right? Like I never like stop and say like, oh, I've done great or whatever. So that's my story.
Nice. And what is your end goal then? When do you think like, all right?
See, like this is what I talked about earlier about why you do things. Like I do this now for legacy, right? And I do this now for saying like, look, I know that, when I'm on my like last legs, when I'm old and gray, I want to know that I did everything possible to be great. And I want to go down as like multi-billionaire one day. I want to do these things, and not because of the money. Like I live a pretty like simple life. Like yeah, I have like nice cars and like nice things and all this stuff, but like I don't do like crazy things, right? Like the money is not the number one thing for me, like I said earlier, because that's not strong enough of a factor for dealing with all the bullshit that goes into this. I do it because I love it, right? And like a lot of people say they love it, but they really don't love it, right? So my end game is just saying, look, I want to go as hard as possible for as long as possible and create the biggest company I possibly can, because I know at the end of that, I'm probably going to be like one of like 100, man, in like human history, something like that. And that's what keeps me going, saying like, look, man, there's like tens of billions of people are here, and I'm in the top 100. Like that's why I do it, right? And it's like I want people to know that that's why I do the 0 to 1 billion challenge. That's why I get out and inspire people to do things. It's because like look, I want to do things that are really really hard that get people motivated to say like okay, I don't have to have these same levels of ambitions, but if he can do this like in this time frame, I can do a lot too, right? Because I really care a lot about poverty and people's like financial literacy and things like this. And you can't just be an advocate for something and not do something about it. You can't just say like, oh, like go recycle or whatever, right? Like whatever cause you care about. You have to actually do it, and people have to actually see you doing it to be inspirational. So that's where I'm about.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you really see that you have that compassion for other people that don't have the financial literacy yet.
Hmm.
And I think your goal is like definitely achievable. Uh, but you cut it. I think you cut it up good in like days. Every day you try to do the best you
Hmm.
can, and that's the only thing you need to do.
Hundred
Like only
percent,
every
man.
day, every single day. It's only 24 hours that you have to do your best, and then the next 24 hours. So that's
And,
like what I try to do as well here.
hmm.
Like I don't try to see like, oh, I need to grow. No, I go to the Netherlands and grow. I just think, all right, today I need to do this, and I need to do my best. And
Hundred
tomorrow
percent.
I do it again.
And that's the
And
thing. Yeah, that's the thing too, man. Like, just you can be working hard and not have a high amount of tasks for the day, right? Because like part of your job as an entrepreneur is to be very well educated on the world, on the environment you're working in, on all the things that go into it, so that you can make the best decisions possible. Like I probably only make like 6 or 7 like good decisions a day. But the rest of my time, I'm spending like monitoring things, so I have my finger on the pulse. So when someone says, "Hey, Michael, this is going on in the company," I can say, "No, that's not the case." And you can, if my employees were here, like they would say the exact same thing. They would say like, "No, if whenever you're going to Michael, you better know what you're talking about because he's going to call you out on your shit no matter what." Because I always know, right? And yeah, so like it's a lot of monitoring, man. But yeah, it's when you break it down like that and say, like, look, let's make the best decisions possible today and make the biggest and best decisions. That's how you move things forward, 100%.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe one more question. Like
Sure.
I have that marketing agency,
Mhm.
but I also have that Airbnb
Yeah.
back in the Netherlands, and I do freelancing as a side job because I quit having like a normal job because it
Mhm.
didn't give me the freedom with school. I had to plan myself 2 months in advance, but yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do in 2 months, so it always struggled with my agenda. So I started doing freelancing, and with my dad, I started an Airbnb in June of
Mhm.
22.
Okay.
We always had this house that my grandfather on my father's side built, and it was like we rented it out for long term, but it didn't really give any profits, and always the house was broken after that. So we thought, all right, we need a solution for this. And my dad didn't have the energy to do it himself, so he said to me, like, hey, Peter, if you renovate that house completely, we'll put it up on Airbnb and you'll get 20%.
Mhm.
So I thought like, oh shit, all right, I really want to do it, but do I like have the time? I have school, it takes up a lot of time, this and
Mhm.
that. And I thought like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. So I did that, but now like I have multiple things running at the same time. I have a full-time study. I
Mhm.
have this marketing agency. I have that Airbnb. Um, and I need to do freelancing on the side since these two things are not on the level yet to
Yeah,
give me like the proper funding to
I
live a normal
understand.
life.
Yeah.
So that creates a lot of chaos in my head. And what's like your advice on that? Do you think cut some things off, or just focus on the most important, or just keep going as you're going now because you're still young? You still need to like eventually you'll find something that will give you the yeah enough. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. You got four different things going on basically. Should I sustain each of them, focus on one, perhaps maybe like lose one? Um, yeah, I would do it all. I would.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like, I practice what I preach, right? It's like, I do the medical companies, then I do the 0 to 1 billion challenge, I do the videos for the challenge, I do all of this stuff, and I don't ever stop and think like, oh, I don't have time for something, right? I still like go to the gym, I still hang out with my friends, I still do all these things. I just take away from all of the useless time. Like if you looked at like 1,000 people and I was included in that, I guarantee you I'd probably be the highest number one for like lowest amount of useless time in a day. Like not just like sitting around looking at phones and like reading the news or something like that's pretty useless, right? Like I'm very active in what I'm doing throughout the day, right? So you can have multiple different things. Don't just think like the two words I hate are like overworked and like stressed. It's just like, man, like you're young, you should be able to run through walls, go do like a million things. Like I'm young, I'm 29. I feel like I can go for another 100 years, man. It's like you're 10 years younger than me, right? So it's like you can do this,
You
right? And it's
yeah.
just like just don't drink too much. Don't like do anything
Yeah, don't
crazy, and
waste
just
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta just go for it, man. Make the most money you can. Cause think about it, right? You give up one of those outlets. Maybe that's like 10,000 a year, 15,000 a year, something you're giving up. Well, if you think about it, that's like a 200K house you could be buying with this.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
just
You're
do it.
saying like, don't give up on the things that can give you money. Give up on the things that you're doing
Yeah,
that
the bullshit,
aren't.
man.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I'm also trying to like improve my time management skills and balance my various businesses with
Mm-hmm.
my study. And I still have trouble sometimes to like be able to get rid of those like wasting time things, be on my phone or
Yeah.
do things like that, because sometimes I'm a bit I need to say like I'm a bit lazy sometimes, sometimes I wake up and I think fuck.
Yeah, no, I
and
get
then
it.
I have that
you,
kind of
you
day
just you just
sometimes,
have
and
to do
some
it,
days
man.
where
Like you
yeah,
gotta just be a man. You gotta do things you don't want to do because like the life you want, right? Like think about it. This could like you not doing something could be like another 2 years where you don't see kids or you don't have kids or something. Just think about it in those
yeah.
terms, right? It's like I'm pretty sure
Do you have some productivity techniques or tools for organization, prioritization, and
um
how you do your day, how you schedule your day,
yeah.
what kind of
So
things you use?
I have a very strong rule where I don't like sitting in meetings for very long. So I like getting in and out quick, and I want people to know what the hell they're talking about, and I like having open time during my day so I can do like what I want to do, right? And basically like I get very upset if people schedule me for like 4 or 5 meetings in a day because that's literally all you're going to be doing, and it's just like talking to people, and you're not like I don't care who you are, like doing all these meetings all the time is not helpful, right? So in terms of like productivity and organization, like yeah, I do use the calendar to stay organized, but other than that, I'm just like freely moving around, man. Like I see like okay, I'm here today, I'm investigating stuff. If I see like an issue here, that's where I spend my day doing. Like I'm very like fluid in that sense, right? So I never have like a set day. And I just know, okay, I do have to accomplish these things at this point, but let me just look around and see what's going on, and then go and work here, go and work over there, and like I don't care what time it is, right? Like I just work, like I work all day, right? And so I do these things, and then that's just how I do it. I don't really, in terms of like productivity, it's just like man, like what other choice do you have, right? You have a set of things you need to do, and if you fail to do them, then you're going to be worse off. Like why would I want to be worse off, and why would I be the one to say I want to be worse off, right? And it's just like you just gotta do it, right? Like that's it. Like there's no other like there's nothing to say. Like if you want to be productive, you have to do the work, and it's just I understand being lazy or I guess, but it's just like look, you have to be willing to say I need to get this done, block off all the other distractions, and do it right. Then in terms of like, I mean, I guess one thing I do is I for sure prioritize like the biggest issues of the day, and I do that first. And the longer you prolong doing the big things, the worse your day is going to be, because all you're going to be doing is like worrying about it and thinking about it all day. So I try to do my biggest things in the morning, and then things are normally more chill in the afternoon a little bit. But mornings are normally most hectic for sure.
All right. Yeah, that gives me a lot of insight because here, so you're like saying you don't really keep track of time. You just do the things you need to do, and when you want to go to the gym, you go to the gym, and then you do this, and then you do that, and then
Dude,
if you
I control the time. I control the time. It's like
yeah,
if I want to talk to someone in the company, I don't say like, oh, are you having lunch? No, I'll just go sit next to them and start talking to them, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know that's just how I do it, right? Like if I need to do something, like I don't know if it's like rude or whatever, I'll just go and say like, look, I need to accomplish this now. You're the person I need to talk to. I just go and do it, right? And that's how I do it at least. But then no, like gym's a little easier because I have a structure, right? Like whenever I get home from the office, I do the same things. I do 0 to 1 billion challenge video. I do my totals and things like that. Then I go to the gym. Then I normally eat something after, and then after that normally it's like 10 or 11 o'clock. Shower, and then I start like looking at emails. Maybe I'll talk to my family for a little bit, something like that. But like, at no point am I saying like, okay, I did not accomplish this, right? Like me not feeling like going to the gym is not a reason to not go to the gym. I always make sure like, look, I'm doing this no matter what. I don't even give myself the option to like say like, oh, I'm gonna like complain about this, right? Like I'm doing this. It might be in like half an hour, it might be in an hour, but I will be doing this. I never give myself the choice, basically.
So do you also surround yourself with like the similar people with the similar mindset? Because you
Yeah.
often the people say like, "Oh, show me your friends, show me your future," and I
Yeah,
strongly
that's a
believe
good
in that.
quote. Dan Penn, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
No,
I
he's
strongly believe in that as well.
a
Like
hundred
I,
percent, man. Yeah, no, 100%. So, um, the more successful I've gotten, the fewer relationships I've maintained for sure. So, all of my friends are just like the highest performing people, right? And it's like I have friends who are like 60 years old, and that's not like some random family friend. That's just like a genuine friend, right? And it's just like, how can like a 29-year-old and 60-year-old be friends? Well, you just are, because like it doesn't matter about your age. It's like your personalities are the same, right? And yeah, like the best way to meet these people is just to like go to events and things like that, right? Like for example, I always get invited to banking events, and you think about it from their perspective, right? The bank wants the best people who are going to grow the most to come to these events and be rewarded, so you do more business with the bank, right? So when you go to these things, who are you surrounded by? You're surrounded by all these other people who are running the best businesses that are doing well. So then you just start talking to them, right? Like I was at an event like a week or two ago, and I'm talking to this like Indian guy who has this like $100 million company, and they do like textiles and stuff like that, and they sell things to Walmart. So I'm just talking to this guy, and you learn stuff, and then you become friends with them, and you go like that, right? And like that's what you need to be doing. Like just the reality of it is, if you're trying to be great, you're gonna lose a lot of your friends from high school. You're gonna lose a lot of your friends from university, because like they're just on different life trajectories, right? Like I have some of like my best friends from like elementary school and high school and things like this, like people who I literally spent like 15 years with, like every single day. And then it's just like, okay, well, I moved to go to university. They stayed in the same sort of area, and maybe they went to college or got a job or whatever. And it's just like they didn't have the same ambitions that I had, right? So it's like I can't really like maintain my relationship with you if I'm like over here doing this, and that's what I'm doing all day, and you're over there doing that. And it's just like we have less and less in common now. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it sounds kind of shitty, but it's like that person cannot help you get to the next level. And like that might sound a little selfish or whatever, but it's what you need to be thinking to develop yourself further. Because when you're young and starting out, you need to be developing skills. And it's like, who is going to teach you these skills, right? It's not going to be the people who are not doing the thing that you want to do. And I learned so much just from people who were like so much better than me, like earlier in my business career. And like I got so fortunate, actually. Just quick funny story, actually. But when I graduated from university, the chancellor there was this really old guy. Okay, and his name is actually Jack Cowan, and he so when I was going across the stage getting my diploma, none of the other professors or whatever sitting there like really care. They're all just kind of just like zoned out, whatever. And that guy literally was looking at me, smiling, congratulating me, whatever. He was just a nice guy. And then, would you believe, like almost like a month later, okay, one of our family friends said we were showing them the picture and stuff. Like, oh my God, don't you know who that is? That's Jack Cowan. He's a billionaire, and he's also from the town that I was from. Okay, and I'm like, how do you know that? And they're like, oh, because like we're friends with him. So I'm like, how's that? And he's like, oh yeah. So they got into this long story, and he actually lives in Australia, but he went to my school, which was the University of Western Ontario, also. And literally, when I bought my medical company, I went to Australia for the first time in like 2019, and they actually set up a meeting with Jack Cowan, who was he's a billionaire, right? So I was able to meet him when I was just starting out as an entrepreneur, and we just hit it off. And we're like, oh my God, look, this is not actually the first time I met you. Like, look back here, and we were laughing and laughing and laughing because we're like, oh my God, that was such a boring ceremony. But just like it just goes to show you how you meet these people, right? It's like you want to spend your time with people like that. And it's like I know not everyone can meet billionaires and these things. Like that's just a chance thing, right? But you can meet people who are better than you, who can push you forward 100%. And those are the people you need to spend your time with, right? And some of your friends who have bad habits or whatever, they have to go. It's just how it is. You have to care about yourself, not from a selfish perspective of saying like you're better than them or whatever, but if you know in your heart that you want to get to a certain place, you need to find the people who can give you and help train you with the skills to get there. And that's just on you. That's the responsibility you have to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, great story. Like I'm looking to develop my own networking skills as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on like different networking opportunities. You already named a few, like go to these big
Yeah,
places.
you gotta get a business going, man. You gotta get your business going. You gotta get some revenue going, and then the world comes to you. That's how it is. Like don't if you don't have social proof or you don't have results, it's gonna be very hard for you to network with like really good people, and who actually want to work with you 100%. You gotta get your business going first, and then everything comes to you.
Yeah, you need to have something to show to them.
100%,
I
yeah.
yeah,
And then like yeah, like even like it's so easy. Like once you have something, then you can start going to like I'm sure they have marketing conferences. I'm sure they have like trade shows, things like this. Maybe you can exhibit somewhere, show some of your work, and then you just start meeting all kinds of people. Like I've met insane people, man, just from going to like trade shows and doing these exhibitions and things like that. So it's easy. Just put in the work now, and that stuff all comes into place. They will find you. I'm telling you. If you're good, these people with money and power, they will find you 100%.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, my friend, I think that's good for today. Unless you have any other pressing questions, it's good.
Um, let's see if I have some written down. Yeah, I think that's all it for me as well. I
Well, great, man. Well, so just out of curiosity, then, so did you enjoy your time today? It was worth your time.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really helpful. I really learned a lot. I wrote a lot down. I'm gonna rewatch it again in a bit.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of people
and
are saying that they really they liked hearing from you, and you had some great perspective. So
Really
that's great,
nice.
man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So okay. Well, good luck
it
with
was really
everything, and
helpful.
keep us updated. And then maybe in a couple months or something, we'll get like a update, and we'll go from there. Maybe we'll do something like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that would
you.
be fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah, would love to do that.
okay, sure. Well, thank you for coming on, man. And it was a great first episode. I think it was a lot of fun, and we're gonna go from there.
All right,
Okay.
perfect.
See you later, man. Good luck.